Alright guys, something we need to talk about, for pretty much the entire season right now is the Scar, because people all of the sudden hate the Scar, and you know what? It's a little bit understandable, but we're going to talk about the Scar, why the magic was lost, and why people don't like using it anymore. We're going to talk about all that in just a second. I do want to say before we get into it, hello everybody, and welcome back to the video. If you are new here, my name is Kyle. I'm your guy with too many YouTube channels. Let's talk about the Scar. So, a lot of people, Scar came back this season, right? Everybody was a little hyped, and then all of a sudden, everybody hated the Scar. The quick reason to that is because I would say people got better, and on top of that, we've had a lot of assault rifles over the years in Fortnite right now, and the assault rifles are just not like, the Scar doesn't compare. They're just way better. Remember when the hammer came out and everybody didn't like it, and then you found out that the bloom was actually quite good on the hammer? It's just, we've seen so many better assault rifles. I would think like off the top of my head, man, the Ranger was the one that's like worse than the Scar, but even that you can argue like after the buff, I don't know, like the heavy AR came out, that was probably a lot better. Pretty much every assault rifle that we've seen since the OG days with the Scar has been better than the actual assault rifle. But this leads to people's like just blaming Epic Games and saying, you know what, it's not OG Fortnite anymore. You get the point? Like, you see the conversation happen so often, because you remember back in the day, back in the OG days of Fortnite, when you found a gold Scar, it was like you had a weapon that was just so much better than all of the other weapons, which was true. They also just stopped using like rarity as like a special thing, because back then rarity meant a lot. If you found a gold Scar, there weren't a lot of gold weapons in general, but when you found like a gold Scar that was different from the other assault rifles, it was still the assault rifle, but a different version of the assault rifle that was better and did significantly more damage. Now the Scar is just the same thing with green, blue, purple, gold. It doesn't really matter the rarity that you get, because there's just a little bit of damage in between them on top. And the whole thing, you have the problem with bloom. And this is something where I keep telling my friends this too, because I have some friends that are still like, hey, the Scar sucks now. I'm like, no. The Scar is the same gun. You just notice the bloom now, because a lot of guns like just sucked back in OG Day Fortnite, and everybody just sucked back then in general. I remember back in the old days, if you want to use the Scar properly, you need to tap fire it. Just go bing, 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 bing. The Scar's really good in that sense. You can do that with a lot of other assault rifles, but people are just coming into this season, seeing the Scar again, expecting to pick it up and just beam people. So that's the problem, is bloom was always a factor, and you could just ignored it back in the old days because everybody sucked, and then you could just beam somebody that's just walking across a field. You know what I mean? Nobody built back then. Nobody was like good at hiding. It was quite easy to kill somebody with that bloom. That was a big issue. The same problem is just now, it's just that the players are a little bit better. Because I use the Scar, how to properly use it, I find myself actually, like, I find it actually useful. I pick up the Scar. I don't pick it up that often, because I really do like using the bows. I'm one of those weirdos. I run like a Thunder Shotgun, and right now I'm running like the Heavy Sniper over a hand cannon, and then I have like a Falcon Scout, so I only run 2 weapons. I understand I'm weird in that sense, but I have absolutely no problem using a Scar, because again, I understand how to use it, and people need to understand how to use it. It's the same way people had to use it in the old days. It's the exact same thing. If you wanted to hit your shots with the Scar consistently, you need to tap fire. And this was a thing that it started getting a little bit more well known, I'd say, like around like maybe season 5 or season 6, but still not a lot of people did that. You could still get away with just spraying the gun. If somebody's gliding, you can spray. The bloom will miss most of it, but then you'll hit your shots. Same thing if somebody's gliding today. It's just here's the biggest factors, like I mentioned already. The biggest factor is that there are so many gold weapons and good weapons now that the Scar just doesn't stand out, and it's kind of like, I would say it's like a subpar weapon. It's not like a bad weapon. It's not bad, I don't think, at all, honestly. The burst assault rifle's better. Everything else in the game is something that you might want to use over the Scar. There are just guns that are way better. And on top of that, the big problem is that people are seeing I don't want to see a Scar anymore, because it's not the same. They don't get that same feeling. They don't understand how to use it. And then they go and blame something like Epic Games, because Epic Games, what did you do to the game, Epic Games? It doesn't feel the same. What'd you do to my Scar? And they did nothing to the Scar. They just put it back in the game, because if all the weapons function just like the Scar, people will get a little bit stale. They need new weapons, and probably, I don't know if you need improved weapons. People were complaining about bloom a long time back in the day. Probably a conversation for another time, but still, the whole point with the Scar is the magic has been taken away. And I wish that Epic Games would add more items like the Scar back in the day, where that was the whole point of Mythics, right? TNTina's Kaboom Bow, Jules' Drum Gun, Jules' Glider Gun, stuff like that. Things that really stand out. That's why I like the Mythics so much back into like the early days of Chapter 2. They did that perfectly. It's like finding those Mythics were like finding a Scar back in the old days. It was like something that was just so much better. And now we just have the Mythics that you can get for no reason. You know what I mean? I hope they go back to that, because then we got the same feeling that we did with the Scar. I think it'd be cool if they put like the legendary Scar and just having that in the purple version of it, getting rid of the other assault rifles and just making those assault rifles a little bit better than they already were, because again, it was just a little bit of copy and paste, right? Except like they added the green, which probably did a little bit less damage. they can improve the scar, but the fact that they just threw it in there, I guess it wasn't right for them to just expect people to be happy with it, because it's very hard to please this community, right? But there's a way to improve it, and I don't think Epic Games did anything wrong with the scar. It's just that the weapons are so much better now, and I hope that they continue to add more weapons in the game that can make us have that feeling of the OG scar. They can do the same thing with the scar, just like I mentioned. I think that would be the best way to go about it. But still, it's a little tough topic for you guys. But still, like, I don't know if it's okay to just pick up a scar right now or just complain that you find scars in the games, because everybody wanted the scar back for so long. Epic Games delivered. They gave it to us, and now the community's unhappy again. So this is where I'll leave it up to you guys. I want to know what you think in the comments down below. What do you think about the scar coming back? Do you think I made good points? If you disagree, let me know down in the comments below. I will be reading. I will be responding. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. If you are new here and enjoyed the content, please consider hitting like button. It will help out the channel a ton. And subscribe if you are brand new. Check the description down below for links to all my other channels. If you'd like to use my supporter creator code in the item shop, it is code Clen, #anime, #Epic Partner. Thank you so much for watching. Again, guys, I'll see you in the next one. Take care.